Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the host, the one with the most, JR, aka Manager 13. And like I told you guys, I was bringing you a special edition of the Room013 podcast. For now, it's going to be Room 405, but it's still the Room013 podcast. We here. It is day 2 of my Comic-Con annual trip. And in the house, I have 3 very special people who are part of my life. We got the one and only Bubba, a.k.a. Bub, a.k.a. Big Red, a.k.a. Little Undertaker, a.k.a. the King of Kings, a.k.a. my favorite Caucasian friend, Dennis.
Hey guys, happy to be here.
And over here we have the smoothest of them all, the OG of the OGs, the man, the myth, the legend. Who's better than him? Nobody. The one and only CJ Smooth.
What up?
And last but not least, we have the money maker, the sparkling dazzler, the sensation of the group, Danny.
What up, y'all?
The big, day 2. We right now. I did say I was going to drop this earlier in the day, but due to some unforeseen circumstances of enjoying my time out here, this has been delayed. Probably hear this on a Sunday or Monday. You probably get episode Sunday on a Tuesday or some shit like that. But nevertheless, I'm gonna let you guys know how everything's going. And I'm gonna first start off by saying that so far, like the past 7 years of being able to attend the New York Comic-Con, it's been really good, special. I wouldn't change anything about everything that happened. And back when I first was introduced to it by CJ, I honestly had no interest in it until he brought it up. Like I said in a previous episode, he told me about it, and I lied about getting the tickets when I got it the week after, and fucking and then we went. And then so CJ, what made you want to go to Comic-Con? Like the first Comic-Con was like 2012? 2012, yeah, it was.
2012, I think it was. I don't know. It was just on the fly thing, you know. I always dreamed of coming to Comic-Con. So I just took a risk like you did. Mm-hmm. It was, back then it was easy to get the tickets.
Oh,
so
hell yeah.
We lucked out. So lucking out gave us that start.
It was.
But I think it was something that just set a platform. Both of us just setting a platform. So
yeah, it was. And like, yo, when we first went, it was so easy to get the tickets, and it wasn't as that popular. Like, you know, it wasn't like people wasn't going crazy for it.
People wasn't going crazy.
And back then, tickets were easy to counterfeit. Now they got the RFID shit.
Yeah,
which
it was much easier back then going, but like, you know, when we first went the first time, we didn't even experience everything.
Yeah, nah. Not
so
at
then the second year we added a new member.
Mm-hmm.
So how was that feeling?
Well, first and foremost, let me, this is Danny speaking, by the way. First and foremost, let me say that I am honored and privileged to be in this room right now with some great guys, great men, great fathers, great, just friends, brothers, because that's what we become. We become brothers. We become more than friends. I want to say for me it's been a very, I mean, I remember my first experience, man. I got lost when I got here a lot of times, you know. I was just memorized because, again, I've been less fortunate I've done a lot of great things in my life, but I really never got to do things that I love to do. And one of the conversations, I remember a conversation I had with Mr. Smooth. You know, I remember we used to work at our old job and we had a conversation. We used to talk about comics, and, you know, he told me his passion for comics, and I told him my passion and my love for comics, and, you know, and we kind of like that's the kind of way we kind of met. And, you know, then later on during the year, you know, he explained to me that, you know, hey, you know, we've gone to Comic-Con, and, you know, me and, you know, him and you both have gone, and, you know, it'd be nice if I came, you know, and checked it out, because it'd be a good experience. And listen, once I went, it was one of those experiences where it's like I didn't look back, you know. And, you know, I want to say that it was more, in the beginning, it was more of just going on a trip, but now it's like a necessity now. And not to say that it gets put before priorities, but one thing I will say is that it's become something where I could generally say that it's more than just Comic-Con now. Now it's not only is it time for me to just regroup and get my mind together and have a mental break, but also it's a time to spend time with my brothers. You know what I'm saying? You know, sometimes we go through so much, we don't get to talk a lot because we got families and we got life. So, you know, one thing I will say is that now it's like I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful to be just around amazing guys that, you know, not only have they been there through the best times, but also always been there through the worst times, to just say, you know what, everything is going to be all right. And, you know what I'm saying, I'm just very privileged to be in this circle of brothers right now. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So, yeah.
Very true.
But like, with that being said, to kind of introduce the next guy, you know, I kind of talked to the next guy about this stuff. And I don't remember if we had a conversation about it, or I don't know how it started, but, you know, I know I'll let him tell you the rest, and, you know, we'll go from there. So,
Yeah,
guys, I was, first of all, thank you for having me on your very prestigious podcast. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Originally, like, growing up, I enjoyed comics and, like, you know, mostly like the movies and games and stuff they interacted with. But I was never like a crazy fan until I started working with you guys and like learning more about them and figuring out. I was never crazy about it. I was like, you know, I was into like games and all that sort of stuff. But like after a while, like specifically starting with Danny, and then like as I got to know CJ more, and then you, or, you know, our illustrious host more after I, like, you know, because I knew you for a little bit, but then
I think we only knew each other before you went to Comic-Con.
Then you moved to New York, and then like eventually, like between Danny especially and then CJ, like I got involved and like get more into comics and stuff like that, figuring them out. Specifically, like starting with like DC Comics. I believe my first comic was my first volume was actually like Batman's Hush comic, which like really triggered me and like started me on this path to like a shitty bank account number. And it kept on feeding from there. And then, like, you know, once we went to our first Comic-Con together, it was like a natural, like, I knew you from before, but it was like more as like an acquaintance, and just sort of like hit off from there and went moving on, and you became like a true friend to me. But it's like, it was something that's like I didn't identify with them the same way, and then like once I started learning and then reading backstories and stuff like that, they triggered something in me that like got me really into them and like really appreciating the story. And, you know, in some way, you know, and it changed my life forever in like both ways, good and bad. Mostly bad money wise, but like in good so many other ways. It's like now these days it's just like crazy, just trying to keep up with everything else that's going on between like comics and like all the entertainment and Comic-Con, all that stuff. I remember my first Comic-Con, I was there for like 1 or 2 days, and like I was never in something like that my entire life. I was exhausted. Halfway through the day, I was sitting in a corner in Artist Alley, like tuckered out, like I had nothing left in me, sort of thing. So it's like one of those things that you learn and you become more attuned to it, and like even as years go by, even after several years, like things will change, or you do things differently that you realize, like, how did I do this for years and years and not realize that there's an easier way to like go about this, or like to pace yourself, sort of thing. So it's definitely like every year is like a learning experience. There's always something new. Even if you think you've seen it all, there's always more to see. There's always new stuff, no matter what. Like, no matter what you're into. Like, and that's the beautiful part about like comics and entertainment, all this stuff. There's something for everybody, regardless of race, nationality, gender. There's something for everyone, and like that's the beautiful thing. Because even if I might not enjoy something, I know somebody else will, and that's great. Because it just makes the medium so inclusive, and like it makes it bigger for everybody. Which is the best thing, when you can talk about talk to almost anybody about any of this sort of stuff. So it's honestly it's amazing, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and it's crazy. And like now Comic-Con is it's huge. like there's so many people here. Like a couple of years ago, like it was never as big as now. Like now it's like shoulder to shoulder, like walking with people. It's crazy, but like I still wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, because like it's a singular experience to be with this many like-minded people, this many people who love this craft and these mediums like so much that they're willing to do anything for it. So it's a really great thing.
Damn, that was well said. That was
Good intro.
Yeah, that was good. That was good, man. This guy's a professional, giving out speeches on your free time.
Panel in there?
Check out my YouTube channel, guys. Like, comment, subscribe.
Damn, yeah. Oh shit. Like Comic-Con, I don't know if there's I can't say there's like a better Comic-Con than New York, but like
it's a convenient one.
Yeah, it's a convenient.
Yeah, there's a better one, but it starts with San Diego.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, yeah, that's way out there. That's expensive as fuck. Like,
yeah,
and
but as the years go by, we learned and like spending money is not the object anymore.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It was only in the beginning.
In the beginning, when we crazy, just like, oh, let's go get this. People making lists of like 4 or 5 page lists of what we're gonna get. what we gotta buy. Now we just go on the fly and just have fun,
I remember 2012, I think, or 13, I don't know. Within the doors open, in the first 5 minutes, I spent $350 on fucking Funko Pops.
And by the end of the 4 days or something, how much?
I don't know. Just a lot of money. I was just at the window and I was like, yeah, can I get this? Rang it up, said 350. I was like, shit. And then I grabbed the bags and I was just standing there. I was just looking out the window like, damn, what did I just do? Like, they just started and I'm walking around with these 2 big ass bags. Why did I spend all this damn money when I could just walk around and find some shit for cheaper or whatever? But
you notice that they set you up because they have the big ass bags and them little Funkos, so they know you're gonna be buying like 20 of those. So you like, let me just fill up that bag.
They're fully aware of the addiction that comes across the normal Funko fanatic.
Yeah.
But let me just say this too, as even with my first experience, it's one thing to actually get into comics and love comics for what they are. But when you go to these Comic-Cons, you get to really, really appreciate not only the artists that make these comics, but the people that write these comics and the passion that they love. And even like they even respect you critiquing them and letting them know like what you kind of don't like and stuff. But that's one of the things, like, I've learned so much from just meeting people and meeting artists. And there's not only just DC, Marvel, or Image and stuff like that. There's other like low budget companies that kind of like don't that even like on yesterday I met I've never been introduced to Valiant before. I've heard and things like that, but it's just like you could tell the passion that they have for it, because they really try to sell me the company, and it was like and that made me think like maybe I'm focused too much on the high end things, and maybe I should start giving credit to some of the low guys where maybe they do have a lot to offer, and again, that's how you expand. And I can honestly say I'm really grateful that even me liking comics, I got my son makes his own comics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He loves comic books, but he chooses to make his own because he wants something that he could call himself, his own thing, you know what I'm saying? And I love the fact that he has a passion for it as well as I do. It's just different passion, and it's not just comics, and like Dennis said, it's something for everybody, you know what I'm saying? You could start with comics, but eventually, it could be another addiction, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so I don't know.
Even like just regular books. There's people that they sell their books there, and they're trying to be a up and coming like author.
Well, that's the thing. Like the name brands like Marvel, DC, etc. They're a gateway for a lot of people to like get into the medium, get into it, and then from there they discover like stuff like Valiant, Dark Horse, like Image Comics, like the sort of things that like they actually really love, but they would have never done it if they like hadn't started somewhere. And like that's the thing. Like big companies, like people like to like complain about like Marvel and DC, but like for so many people, like that's their entry. Once they get in there, then they might find like their little niche where they where like they really feel like themselves. They feel like something that's really catering to like their desires and needs. But like they need that entryway. They need that like entrance to get into the medium. So that's a role like these big companies still play.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think that comics, like people still, I know people buy comics, but like since now everything's digital, do you think the actual paperback sales are bad? Like they're like falling off? Because before what was it, like how much comics cost back in the day?
$2.99 the most.
If that, like,
or even 99 cents.
Before that, like
years ago it was 10. You know, you going from years before where you're talking 10 cents a comic book. And you know, I remember when me and CJ were collecting some comics at the time before they started going into the higher prices. It was what, $2.99, and even the new comic is always $2.99. You know what I'm saying? They went up to like what, $4.99 to, you know, even more. I think a lot of people's perspective in comics are in the right spot, but some people are not. And let's be honest, right? You got these comic book stores that kind of just raise the prices on things because you got a second, you know, buyer like eBay and stuff like that. You know, nowadays, you know, a lot of people it's not for the passion of comics, it's more of more just the value of it. You know, yeah. So you know, sometimes you know that takes away from things, but I'm glad that you know, and I can speak for everybody that although we do like, you know, there are times where we do, you know, look at things for values. You know, most of the time we get books because we generally like those books. You generally like those characters, so it's not, you know. But as far as your question is concerned, I want to say yes and no, because you have the newcomers that are being introduced, and if you look at the media now, like digital is kind of like an easy way to get it. You know, you don't have to go to the store, you can get it because everything is technology. You know, technology has changed everything. You know what I'm saying? But then you got those old school collectors like us, you know, like CJ, where they've been collecting for years and they've been going to, you know, they actually made the effort to go to a trip, you know, take a walk to the comic store. You know what I'm saying? It's like Amazon. Like now, Amazon is like the thing now, where before it was like you were able to you had to go to a store and actually buy something. Now you can order anything, you know. But like, you know, I think it's both. It's balanced in a way, kind of. I don't think it's hurting their sales. I think it's good for some people, but I think for those old school collectors, I want to say that I don't think they let that. I think they still kind of do. So it's kind of both.
It's in a way, it's the way like in general the future is going. Like digital is the thing. Like whether it's like comics, video games, books, movies. That's where it's going towards. There's still brick and mortar stores selling them. Like there's still people buying comics. Like I'll still buy like comics. Like but like. The thing is, like, as it's gotten more and more digital, I've prioritized digital and be like, well, this comic, I don't really want to buy it, but, like, if it's, like, a number one or a variant and stuff like that, and that's where they still get you, because they'll sell variants, they'll specialize in, like, these special edition covers, stuff like that, because they know, like, the regular comics aren't selling the way they used to, because people want to go all digital, which is just the way the future of, like, our world, our society is going. So like so they'll try and like prioritize, like, you know, oh, you want a foil cover, you want like this, different covers, but like it's the thing is like they're still getting their money out of it regardless. So like they're still doing all right. It's just the way we process the medium, because in like ways like me personally, like I'll use like the Marvel Unlimited and like the other apps, which is a great way to like go through comics that like I wouldn't buy, like, you know, or like start like same way with like Netflix or anything. It's like, oh, let me give this series a shot. I'm not really a big fan of this comic book series, but let me give it a shot. And something you really like, and you would never have bought it if it was just the paperback in a store.
I agree. And you got to think too. I you know, I'm in a lot of groups on like social media, and you got to think a lot of these places, they don't have comics. And the only way they have to get comics is like through the internet. They have to like download a comic. Some of these places, I mean, you're talking about foreign countries. Yeah. There's some foreign countries that don't sell comics. They don't sell comic books at all. And the only way, because the internet is worldwide, that's the only way they could do it. And they love stuff like that. And I've spoken to people even like on social media groups where they say that, hey, the only means of comic books, the only means of anything comic book related is through the internet. It's not anything like I could walk to a store and there's a store there. You know what I'm saying? We're talking places like France. Not France, I'm sorry. Like places like
Pakistan. There's a gentleman on one of the groups that I'm in that he lives in Pakistan, and there is no comic book store. Like, he orders his books online. He gets digital codes and downloads comic books. That's the way he has to get them, because again, there's no, it's a big thing, but it's not all over the place.
Which goes vice versa, because you still have the internet, which, like, as far as, like, in, like, countries that are very connected, like Europe, stuff like that, it's one thing, but, like, in the U.S., it's not ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Like, they're, like, New York, stuff like that, like, it's, like, crazy, but, like, in other places, like, in, like, more rural areas, like, it's not as much. So, like, the brick and mortar, like, paperbacks are still important to them.
Yeah.
Because, like, they don't have the high-speed internet. They don't have, like, the access to these digital comics. So, it's a give or take sort of thing that's, like, as years will go by, it'll definitely trend more digital.
Yeah.
And, like, paperbacks will be more of a collector's item the way other things have become, like vinyls and stuff like that. But it's a lot of give and take.
Yeah. I think doing digital is just another way for them to get money, So it's not they're losing, like they said. If you can't get it by the book, you could get it digital, they're gonna spend the money. So either way, you get it. So they're trying to sell to everybody, make that money any way they can.
Before going to, like, the comic book shops, I would download them, and then, like, I remember last year I was buying, like, plenty of variants, like 5 of the same issues, like with Amazing Spider-Man comic. I would buy, like, a whole bunch of variants and shit, and then I would only read, like, the first issue, and then the other issues I'd take, like, the digital code out and put the comic back in this sleeve, and then just, like, read it on my tablet. Yeah, I didn't want to crease the pages.
And that's
I would open it slow and then peel the sticker off, and then okay.
That's a good example of why people collect, like, books, because they want to keep it mint. They want to have that little treasure. Sometimes it's memories that you could just put away. Like me, for instance, I started when I was like 13 years old collecting comics. I was buying them when they were 25 cents. So imagine. And I got handed a whole bunch from my cousin. So, he already embedded to me those comics, nice in boxes and everything. So I was like, yo, I'm going to start buying and getting my own collection. Now, forget it. I don't even know how many I got. But I still keep it classic. Get in the comic, take out the little code, download it to my phone, read it, and then just save the book. So that's how I do.
How many comics do you own, Danny?
I have no clue.
No.
Again, comics are my thing. I love superheroes. I love just, like, the genre. But that's the thing about comics, is, like, you can start with comics, but it could always lead to something else. You know what I'm saying? Because it's more than just comics, man. It's like, when you fall in love with these characters, you fall in love with them not just through their stories, but through everything, through their shows, through their figurines, their T-shirts, their hats. You fall in love with them. It's like having a football team. Although there are times where even those comics don't they don't do so well. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a football team. Your team doesn't do well, but you still root for them, and you still support them and everything. But I really don't know how many comics I had, to be honest with you.
Dennis, you know how many you got?
I definitely say under 100. Like, I don't, like, me personally, like, I'm like if I can go digital or buy even, like, trade paperbacks, which is another great way for, like, people getting new into like a specific line, or like even a series of, like, a character or something like that. A trade's a great way to get into it. So you're not buying, like, half a dozen, like, comics that, like, some might be rare, some might not be, or hard to find. You buy a trade, it's all collected, it's a nice, like, well-made paperback that's not like, because comics, they're not the most durable material. Like, there's a reason you bag and board them. Like, they can rip easily, but, like, a nice trade paperback is a good way to do it. So, like, for me personally, like, comics I'll usually buy, like, if I'm, like, really into a specific line or run, or if I'm, like, trying to find, like, specific covers or, like, number ones of when they reboot one of the series or something like that. So, like, definitely a lower number than most comic book fans would be, because I generally prefer to go with trades or digital, unless I'm going for a specific run or, like, specific covers.
Gotcha. I'd say under 100 as well. Maybe like 108 180 or something like that. Because I got my like for me to keep track of what comics I got, and like before every Comic Con, I would like go on my app on the computer, comic book collector, and like put in every comic I have, and then just sorted by artists, inker, pencil. I'm like, okay, this person's gonna be at Comic Con. Let me take this comic with me. Let me take, instead of like, because before when I started, I would like open up the comic book, read the name, who's gonna be there, then look through the list on Comic Con. Like that shit would take too long.
So it's like an inventory of every comic.
Yeah,
you have,
exactly.
You update, but that way it's a quick reference sheet.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like a cheat sheet. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty easy like that. And I think the last time I brought a comic with me to Comic Con was probably like last year. I didn't buy any comics this year. I actually haven't stopped buying. Well, yeah, not yet.
Only halfway through.
Only halfway through. Haven't stopped buying like comic tape yet, but I definitely want to pick up that Stranger Things comic, Midtown, and they have a Venom. It was signed too, a Venom variant. It's like $10. I'm gonna pick that one up tomorrow. I'm glad that I did pick up that Harley Quinn statue. I really wasn't gonna buy it, but Dennis convinced me, and I think it was a good purchase. I think it was a great purchase. It's probably my only collectible item from Suicide Squad that I have, not counting the collectors, the DC Legion of Heroes, whatever box. But I got everything else Harley, but not that that statue.
Between you and CJ, you guys have been to a lot of Comic Cons. For like some of your listeners that are like, you know, haven't been to a convention or might be going to the first one or the second one, like what's some like tips that you would recommend to them? Like just doesn't have to be super specific to like any convention, not even New York, like any convention.
Where
like, what's important? Like what have you learned through years of like trial and error?
Wear comfortable shoes.
Yes.
Bring comfortable shoes.
Converse, please.
No flat Converse.
Don't be like Danny and wear Converse.
Yeah.
Number one.
Comfortable shoes.
A comfortable backpack.
Yes. Something light and padded on the shoulders.
Don't buy anything at Comic Con. Unless it's like a prank or don't buy food at Comic Con.
Start a savings account a year earlier.
Yeah, start saving a year early. And bring your own food, because the food inside of there is really expensive. If you don't bring any food, you're going to be hungry, starving, and you're just going to have the urge.
Or no areas outside the con that you can go to for food.
Because those vendors too. Or you mean like outside the whole facility?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Or at the very least, know what you're getting into. If you're going to eat at the con, know that you're going to be dropping money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for first time goers, I think setting a little map of who you want to meet, what time, this and that, find out the locations. Mm-hmm. Because you will get lost in there.
Yeah, and you will waste a lot of time looking for something that, like, if you don't know where you're going, you
like
just waste.
Our first year, we only experienced like 10% of it.
Yeah, we was just
running there. Yo, we spent like hours on what like one line, and then next thing you know, it was like, all right, time to go.
I think we even went to the wrong line. We stood on the line for
with the gym lead, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was for gym lead. They said person of interest, and I thought person of interest was like a special guest. Then I was thinking, oh, special guest, this must be Jim Lee. And no, they were talking about person.
The TV show.
TV show. I was like, wow, we stood here for so long. But we did see Taraji P, whatever her name is. Henson.
Yeah.
Took a photo of her, but we were on that line for a long time. So know what you're doing, know where you want to go, and who you plan on seeing. And use the map wisely.
And I guess in addition to that would be like any like whether it's a convention or Disney or any of those sorts of things, you're not going to see it all.
Oh yeah.
Like enjoy yourself. Like prioritize what you really want to see, and realize like don't try and see it all because you're not gonna. Even if you're like super like articulate about it, like know exactly what you want to do, chances are you're not going to be able to see it all. So just like prioritize what you want to see, and just have a good time.
Yeah, especially if you're only going for one day. There's no way you're going to see it all. No way.
Now, what about 4 days?
4 days, there's still no chance that you're going to see it all or get it all or meet everybody you want to meet. because I remember I had an itinerary, and I think on day 2 I just said screw it, and I was like following that, it just kind of messed me up because I was like, okay, I got to do this, meet this person at this time, go here at this time, and I was like, I got distracted. You get distracted by other things, and I was like, well.
So what you trying to say was more stressful?
Yeah. So like, you're not gonna be able to see it all. So just like Dennis said, enjoy your time there, and then there'll be plenty of other chances to go to different cons. You know, I don't think I ever left a Comic-Con disappointed.
So what about now that you don't have no itinerary? How is it now?
Oh, now it's a piece of cake. It's
enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, like
so walking apart now.
I think maybe because we've just been there for so many years.
Yeah,
we're just like, screw this. Let's just go out there and have fun, and whatever comes our way, we just take it. Look at, for instance, today. We wasn't planning nothing, and guess who we met? Took pictures.
Oh yeah, that was.
You want to tell them?
That was I think that was the highlight of my day. Meeting WWE superstars Paige, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, and also Kathy Kelly. They were all there, and I didn't even know they were gonna be there. We just this afternoon, CJ found it out, saw it on Instagram, and it was like, boom, oh, and it was worth it. I think it was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
Line moved pretty quick too.
Yeah, didn't have to stand there for hours and hours. Like Comic-Con is really just lines everywhere, lines for lines.
So that was your highlight.
Yeah, that was my highlight today. Meeting them, taking pictures with them. It was definitely.
So what was your highlight?
My highlight of today or overall?
Of today.
Wow. Because it's been, I want to say this Comic-Con has definitely been it's been more of a stress-free Comic-Con for me. For all of us, because it hasn't been a Comic-Con that like you guys said, it wasn't, in the beginning you guys had, we're like looking for people, looking for things to buy. And like after you go so many times, it just becomes something where like you really want to go and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And I want to say the highlight of this Comic-Con for me so far, to be honest with you, has been just spending time with you guys. It's been that, and years prior to this had been like I remember one year Jim Lee was finishing signing things, and he signed a Superman figure that I had, and little things like that. But this year has definitely been just really spending time with you guys, and again we all have lives outside of Comic-Con and work and stuff, and we all have lives, and we get caught up with so many things, and we kind of just forget the more important things and those little relationships you guys you have with people. And that's with me. I've been very MIA for the past couple of months prior to this convention, and it hasn't been something that I personally want to do, but again, I'm my dad, I work full time, and so things happen, so sometimes you get just caught up with life, but one thing that I strive to do, and one of the things that I'm going to continue to do, is always checking up on my brothers and checking up on you guys and just seeing how you guys are doing, and because you never know, there may be a day that maybe I need to talk to somebody and you have something to say to me that I may need to hear at the moment, or you may need to hear at the moment. But I'm again, I think one of the highlights of this year, of this time right now, is just being able to spend time with you guys, break bread with you guys, and just laugh and just and just enjoy your company. Because again, you get those people. I've been I've lived so many years of my life having people around me where I kind of felt like, although they were around me, I knew deep down inside they really didn't want to be around me. And that's because of personal reasons and whatever reasons they felt or whatever. But I generally feel like very, very fortunate to have people that I'm around that I'm very, very happy with, and that I love dearly, that I will cherish always. So so that's my highlight of my year, just being with my brothers, man.
What about you, Dennis?
Well, my answer is certainly not as deep and philosophical as that. But,
Philosophical.
I don't mean in any type of way, but like for me, it's like the general experience of Comic-Con. Because this year, more than any other year, I've not gone in with any particular plan or like anything that I was like, in a way that's like not good. Is like basing your like how much you enjoy it based on whether or not you can get like this certain item or statue or comic or something like that, and just like enjoying my time and seeing what happens, sort of thing. And like that's the beautiful part about like any convention, but like especially with like bigger ones like New York or San Diego or anything like that. That like who know like it's so big, there's so many different like interests and mediums and like different like types of things involved that like there's something for everybody. So it's like maybe like I was like personally today I was getting aggravated. Like I was woke up in a bad mood. I was like in sort of bad mood. Like,
You were?
I was. And in a convention this big, like you get jostled around, like there's people like moving. Like I was getting aggravated, but like I took a couple minutes, like took a breather from the crowds, went down to Artist Alley, which is obviously still packed, but walking around there and just like looking at people's art that like these people spend so much time in. And like they're just trying to share it with the world, make like some money off it, but like mostly share it with people, like to like show their sort of work. And it's just one of those things, just like even if I'm not like interested in buying a piece of art, just like seeing this art and witnessing it and being like, oh, I never even considered this sort of take on this character or this scene, stuff like that. And like that's one of the beautiful things. Like you experience so many different things in Comic-Con that you never really considered or thought about. That it's a whole new experience. No matter how many years you've been there, no matter how many times you've done it, there's always something to see. There's always new interesting things. Like you never truly know what to expect or what to look forward to, which is like it's a great thing to enjoy, especially like when you're just walking around. Like it's just something you experience that like it just hits you in like a great way.
Well, you also did say you don't like when people try to sell you their comic books.
I mean, that's correct. Like, I'm not... It's the same way in, like, carnival, stuff like that. Like, the carnival barkers, like, they're doing their job. They're trying to get you to come in.
Exactly.
Whether it's, like, trying to entice you or antagonize you. Mm-hmm. And certain comic book people, like, comic book artists, stuff like that, particularly ones that aren't, like, big names or stuff like that, they'll try and get you to come look at their wares, which I perfectly understand as a business reason, but it's like one of those things that like I don't want. Like I want to be able to look at somebody's art and their work without feeling, and this is like personal, but like without feeling like
pressured,
without feeling pressured or obligated is the perfect word to like give them extra attention or stuff like that. Which like it's a kind of like a crappy thing to say, attention, because they put a lot of hard work and like blood and tears into this work, but. It's one of those things. So like I'm like we're all here for different reasons, and I just like I want to enjoy the work. If it's something that like speaks to me on a personal or spiritual level, then maybe I'll be more interested in the work or like purchasing that work and learning more about it.
Facts.
But it's one of those things. It's like anything else with Comic-Con or any other sort of convention or like this sort of like public atmosphere. It's a give or take sort of thing. Where there's lines, but like all like that you don't really want to cross or like don't want to cross too far. But it's all like shades of gray.
Mm. Big facts. Now, CJ, since you've cosplayed 1 year? 2 years?
I think 2 years.
2 years you've come to Comic-Con and cosplayed. What would you tell someone who would be interested in coming here to cosplay?
Get ready for a very hot day. It's fun dressing up. You interact with a lot of people. But get ready to take a lot of pictures with people. If you're like a person that don't like to socialize, it's not for you. But if you like to interact and feel like a part of the crowd, that's definitely a goal for you. I think it's just a good experience, going out there dressing up as a character that you love. A lot of people's gonna show love to you because of the way you dress, and that nobody criticize you in any way, and you feel the love. That's a good feeling. I did it 2 years in a row. It is kind of tiring, but it's fun at the same time, because you got to witness it. I would say to anybody, you could at least do it once in your life,
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Have you cosplayed, Danny?
If you want to consider it cosplaying, I kind of had a onesie Superman.
Oh,
my first time.
Baby suit.
My baby suit, like Virgil punk ass said that one time. And shit. But I did it that one time. But one thing I will say is I appreciate the fact. One thing I would say, you have to appreciate the time and effort that these cosplayers put into those.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like, it just piggyback on what CJ was saying, you know, the fact that you could go to these conventions, and like, to me personally, I always feel like if you go there feeling normal, then you're the weird one, because everybody else over there is not dressed. You know how you go in places and you feel like you're either underdressed or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if I go in just jeans and a regular shirt, I feel like I'm underdressed. I feel like I'm really not part of this convention, because I'm telling you, it's like, it's a judge-free zone. And one thing I will say, out of all the years so far that I've been there, everybody's been so nice. People that I don't know, they'll just come up to you and, you know, even just like a little, you know, you don't, nowadays we live in a place, you know, even like where we live in Connecticut, it's just like, it's really tough to go to events and not have an issue with somebody. But like in those, so far in my experience at the convention, like even with being there, everybody's just so positive.
Yeah.
Everybody's just so happy. And it's like, even bumping into somebody, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you know, excuse me. And then they're so polite and so nice. And it's just like, I've never, you know, I'm knock on wood, I've never had a bad experience. But like I said, yeah, I experienced it one time, and I wouldn't call it a cosplay. I would call it a cosplay, but I mean, I was happy, you know.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I felt kind of silly leaving the place where we left, the parking lot where we left. I felt silly, but then once I got to the convention, it was like everybody was like, "Oh, Superman!" And it was like, "Oh, look," he just like, and nobody cared. Like nobody was even paying me no mind. I felt like I felt comfortable doing it. So it's like, you know, yeah. For new people, I will say that, you know, listen, the minute you go, it's like you're not gonna feel uncomfortable. You know, there's people that. There are different shit, you know, body weights are different, but they don't care. Yeah. So if they don't care, for somebody like me, like, why should I care? Like, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, body shape, race, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, anything. It's whatever, you know, and everybody has fun, everybody likes it.
Would you cosplay again?
Yeah, it's like cosplay at a convention, especially like one as big as New York, is a very like specific. It's a very like there's very specific things attached to it that like you should know going ahead of time. Like, first of all, like CJ said, it's going to be hot. Like, if you're wearing a cosplay that's, like, in any way intensive with, like, armor or, like, robes or anything, like, expect like, to be hot and uncomfortable. Because you're in a convention with, like, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, in the case of New York or San Diego. Like, you'll be uncomfortable. And, like, the other big thing is, like, if you plan on cosplaying a full day there, like, know that, like, you're not going to get anything done.
Yes.
Like, don't be like, oh, I'm going to go to these artists, like, these booths, stuff like that. If you're cosplaying and, like, it's a good cosplay, people are stopping you a lot, like, you're not going to have time to do it. You're going to be, like, stuck. It might be hard to move depending on your cosplay, stuff like that. Like, a good tip is, like, don't plan on anything aside from being that cosplay.
Don't try to get a Mezco item if you're cosplaying.
Don't have other plans aside from like being there to be available for people to take pictures.
Carry like 10 bags.
And the other thing, which is like
cosplaying.
Yeah. And the other thing, which is like give or take for some people, like if possible, if you have somebody like a friend, family member, you know, like significant other, if they're there with you at the convention, like that's crucial to like be there for you, especially like for certain cosplays that like maybe you're like line of vision or it's like bulky stuff like that, having that person like watch out for you or hold your stuff for you or like to cover for you to protect, like, and like not like protect you as in like from danger, but like to protect you from like, you know, like hassles and stuff like that, to like watch your back
or hold your bags.
Yeah, or hold your bags, like anything like that is like it's an important thing for a cosplayer, especially if you're like a certain cosplays more than others. Like whether they're unique or well done will draw a lot more attention, like people requesting pictures. So it's one of those things, like if you can have a wingman or wingwoman for it, that's big. As well as like knowing, like if you're planning on doing a full day and not like switching out of the cosplay, don't plan on getting other stuff done at the convention. Like if you're committing to the cosplay, you're committed to it 100%.
I agree, totally agree. Damn. Cosplaying is it's like a job.
Full time.
It's like a crazy job. There's some people that like I follow on like Instagram, they'll start making their outfit like in the beginning of the year. Like, as soon as they leave Comic-Con, let's say 2018, they're starting their cosplay for the next year. And now they got the 3D printers. It's easy for them to make accessories, and it's a lot of work.
Sometimes the cosplay look better than actual movies.
Absolutely.
That is true,
I
yeah.
agree.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the more you cosplay, like, a lot of times, like, the better you'll get at it. You'll create, like, better material, stuff like that. So if you really want to go into cosplaying, like, you're not truly happy with, like, your first attempt at it, if you still love it, keep going. Like, keep perfecting your craft, your design,
Keep
stuff
pursuing
like that.
that dream, yeah.
Because you'll see, like, these, like, crazy cosplayers, stuff like that, on, like, whether it's, like, Instagram or anything else, like, they put hours and hours, hundreds of hours into the work, whether it's, like, foam design, like, carving, like, all this sorts of crazy stuff that you don't see because you only care about the end product. But, like, they put in all this work, and, like, because they love the craft, they love their characters, so... Sometimes don't give up on it. If you want to cosplay, you love it. Like, don't give up on it. Just keep working on it, keep perfecting your design, commit to it.
Here's a general question.
Yes.
Here's a universal question. Right?
Universal world title.
Universal world title. Here's a universal question that I think that our listeners should hear. One of the things that it's a universal question to ask is, like, what do we love in comics? Why do we love that? That's a question, and to be honest with you, I've never asked you guys that question. Me personally, as your friend, as your brother, whatever you want to consider me, I've never asked you why. Why you like that? Why do you like those stories? I've never asked you why. Like, CJ, I've never, as long as I've known you, I've never asked you why you like the character that you like. You never even expressed that to me. All I've gone with is like, oh, you like it, that's it. So, I would say that's a universal question to ask. So, I don't know if you want to start, brother.
All right. Before we start, we're going to take a quick commercial break to pay some bills. But, we'll be right back.
All right.
Room013. Stay tuned.